Okay, so hope you all have a wonderful New Year's holiday, whatever. It's been a while since I made a video, and I apologize. I've been busy, very busy start to the year. Got projects going on non-stop. That's a good thing, I guess. Anyway, next. So we're gonna do a short little video. We're gonna make a dice, basically, little dice at the table. We'll render it, put some materials. Great for beginners. If you noticed over here in the left-hand corner, I have the screencast, so you can see which button I'm pressing, what I've clicked. You know, if I use a shortcut, you can see it here. The shortcuts are here on the screen. How many times I've pressed it, you can see. So if I click twice, I've pressed it twice. There you go. Anyway, let's get started. So we have our standard default scene, a cube, and what we're going to do is just delete the camera and this sun lamp, and we'll just focus on this cube for now. We're going to turn this into a dice. Right, we're going to make it look really cool, and it's pretty straightforward. So what we're going to do is go into edit mode. So you can go up here to the top left, edit mode, and we're going to use our loop cut tool over here on the left. Okay. Click it. Now I'm going to click here on the menu, and I get this. Let me move. Does this allow me to move it? It does not allow me to move it, so it will overlap. However, you can see here you have number of cuts on the looped cut tool, and we want to set this to 4. Okay, so we're going to slice it 4 across. So we want 4, and I'll repeat this again. 4. On this side, we'll repeat 4. Now we should have it sliced. So now we can click off this. We can go into our face mode. Let's just click up here. And now we have our cube all sliced up, ready to be turned into a dice. So we're going to select some faces, and these will be the numbers on the dice. So this is 1, 2, 3, and on this side I'll choose 4. This side will be 5, okay, and this side is 6. So we want to turn these into, like, we want these to be circular, right? With the little dots, the white dots they have on the dice. Depends on what color you want to make your dice. We can change this later, no problem. But this is what we're creating now. So we've selected all the faces that we want to create, and we're going to use the inset tool. So inset faces. Make sure you have individual checked. So up here in the top left, individual on the options. When you click it, these options will appear for this tool. And now you're going to drag in, and now we have this nice inset, so you have a nice frame inside each one. And now we're going to click, left click, hold the left click, and we're going to choose extrude along normals. I'm going to drag this. Now you can see if I drag it this way, it goes in. If I drag it the other way, it goes, it goes out, and we want it to go inwards, and not too much, something like this. It's up to you really how deep you want the hole to go, but that's perfect. Now before I deselect all these faces, what I want to do is press Control. Let me minimize that little pop-up window for that toolbar. I'm going to press Control and plus. So I increase the selection, so it selects this loop. So just the inside of it. So the reason I want to do that is we want to assign another material different from the rest of the face. And we're going to go over here, and we're going to add this as a group so we can select it later. So we're going to hit the plus, and you can rename this to whatever you want. I'll just rename this numbers, because this is going to be the numbers, or you can call it dots or whatever you like. Anyway, and just press assign, so assign it to this group that you've created. Okay, so if I deselect this now and say select numbers, it will select it. Just makes it easier. Remember, what you got to remember though is if you're in object mode and you go click the numbers, you can't select it. You need to go into edit mode, then these options there for you to select or deselect. Anyway, and that's our dice ready. It doesn't look like a dice, but we drop a subdivision on here. So we're going to go to our modifiers, add modifier, subdivision surface. There we go, we have a dice. Now I'm just going to increase the level on the viewport to 2. Right click. I'm going to use the shade auto smooth. This one works pretty good. There we go. It looks nice, right? We've got a nice little clean dice. Now, let's sit on our plane. So I'm going to add a mesh, and we're going to say plane, and I'll just S to scale, and scale this up by dragging it out. Anytime if you don't want to use, you want to use values, you can go here to item, and you can put in the the dimensions. So if you wanted the floor to be, I don't know, 20 by 20, for example, you can put in the values here too. You're not locked into doing that, but you can do it to whatever scale you like. And just let me bring this up, this dice up above the surface for now. Okay. And like I said, now we're going to put the material on this. So we're going to change our viewport shader. So we want to see we're going to do viewport shading, or you can either choose first or second. I'll choose the last, this last one here on the end. Then open up and uncheck scene world, and we'll choose an environment. I'll start with this nice bedroom. It has some sort of lighting. We're going to go to our EV options, and we're going to turn on ambient occlusion. And here, if I increase this to something like 12, there you go. It's really extreme, but you get a nice look. It depends on the look you're going for. Some people use a lot less. It just depends on what you're looking for. Let's turn on screen space reflections. We're turning a few options on for now, and we'll play around with that later. If you want to go in the screen space, and you can uncheck half res as well. We should be good to go. So let's create a material for our dice. So click on our dice, and we're going to click on our material ball here, and we're going to delete this one. We're going to create a new one. We can rename this red. I'm going to make this red. Of course, yours can be blue or green, whatever you want. So it's red. So I'll just click on the base color, change it to red. Now I want to edit some of these properties, so I'm going to go to the shading tab. And we don't want a perfect dice, and we don't want it too clean, because it's being thrown around. So we want to add some roughness to it. So from our roughness, we're going to drag out, and we're going to add a color ramp. And from the factor, I want to add a noise. There we go. I'm going to add some noise. Go. There, we can increase this detail. So, and if I change the gradient, I'm going to get very shiny parts and very not shiny parts. So it depends on how used you want to make this, and you can scale this up, of course. Increase that detail. And if you move around, so you can see, we've got really, the gloss is starting to wear away. But it's entirely up to you how much. Like I said, maybe you don't want that, and you want it to be a brand new dice. You don't have no roughness. But yeah, maybe have a play around with that. That's really up to you. How much you want to do it. But we just had to play with a little bit of material. And maybe the white is not so white. So also say this slight gray, and maybe the black is slightly gray too. So you can bring that shine down a little bit, but there's some noise there. Just that detail. There we go. So you can see there's some patches there, but it's still glossy. Okay, but yeah, a little bit of materials, nothing too complicated, hopefully. All these nodes that if I hit space, you can see, you could search for these. Color ramp, the same thing. Or you can go up here in the menu, add, and then you can find it in here, or it'll be either a texture or a color. What's it? Color ramp. It's somewhere in here, but you can find it in the menu here too. All the same items that should. I don't know exactly where it is. It's somewhere. Or you got the search as well. The search is here too. Color ramp. There you go. Anyways, let's move on. So Now we want to apply the numbers. Now we want to make these white. So we want another material. I'm going to click on the material, add. I'm going to go new. And I'll just call this, rename this to white. And now we want to assign it to that face, to the faces. So if we go back to our layout, so go to edit mode, and we go to our vertex group that we created, and we're going to say select. Now we go to our material, and we assign this now. Click on the white material and let's say assign to those faces. Now we have, I can come out of edit mode, just hit tab. Now we have this nice dice, material. Anytime you want to change this, of course you can. You can change, this doesn't need to be white. If you want to make it blue dots, green dots, yellow dots, entirely up to you. I just went for the standard, dots. Now, it looks a bit meh. It's good. It's good. The dice is good. So, but we can do a little bit more. So let's scroll down and let's just put some transmission on here. Okay. Oh, on the wrong material. Make sure you do it on the red one, not on the white one. I mean, you can do it on the white one, but I will do it on the red one. And let's just increase that transmission. Give it a second. And we get this cool, chill-like look to the material. There we go. Next, what should we do? Let's make the table. So we're gonna add a new material. Boom. We're gonna say this is grass, or not grass, table, so it's green. Grass. Anyway, it's green. I'm tired, sorry. So I'm gonna choose this green, and I'll bring down the brightness so it's a darkish green. This is gonna be like a roulette table. Now you can go online and get like a texture of a roulette table, and you can have all the numbers or whatever you want. Add all the detail. I'll just go for a standard green surface. Something like this. And it doesn't look like anything interesting. It's pretty basic. But let's make some noise. Let's add some noise. So we're gonna go to normal. We're gonna drag off the normal, and we're gonna look for bump map. So we want a bump, and from the height we want to add again noise. So we want another noise texture. Now if I zoom out, you'll see we have the noise, and if I scale this, scale it so it's really bumpy, and then increase that detail, and you can play around with the roughness. This is just add noise to the surface, and then I'll bring that strength back down. Now because this is a cloth surface, we don't want any roughness, so I'm going to bring that roughness right back up to almost 1, and the specular I'm going to bring it down a bit. There we go. So now it's looking more like a table, a surface. If I remember. So next we're going to do is add a bit more detail to this, just help it come along. But you can see now we've got this kind of cloth surface almost, but it doesn't look like cloth yet. So we're going to add some particles, which would be the hair. So we're going to click on our particle settings over here, and we're going to add particle system, and we're going to switch this to hair. You get these hairs, lots of hairs, right? Now if you scroll down, and I believe it is under, make sure you check advanced before. That's why you won't find it. If you don't have advanced, we won't find the setting, and the physics now pops up. That's what we need, and we're going to choose browning, and we're going to increase that value, and it's going to go all squiggly, right? And then we're going to change the length, bring this down. Gonna play with our browning level. We've got these little fibers, on our desk, and then we can of course increase that number, the number of hairs on the surface, or the the little fuzzy hair that you'll find on cloth. There we go. Doesn't need to be perfect, and then play around with your browning. go. Just a little bit of detail. Like I said, it's not perfect, but you know, it's cool. You know, little bit of detail. Next, let's add some lights, camera, and we're done. So, I'm gonna split this into two. I like to work when I add a camera. I like to have two windows. So I'll right click and split the windows. Now this window here, what I'm going to do is press N to hide this UI like this, and I always like to uncheck the gizmo and the overlay. So now I just have the, you know, this is my viewport for the Eevee, so it's nice and clean. You can, if you even like, you can even hide those tools here because you've got the tools here anyway. But that's entirely up to you. Anyway, we're gonna go add, and we're gonna say camera. So we want a camera to our scene. Okay. Now if I go into this window here and hit 0 on the numpad, then home to fill the space. As you can see, I'll move this camera. Yeah, this is our viewport. We have our surface. There we go. Now all it is about playing around with your composition. I'm not doing anything too fancy, as you can see. If you want to make it a lot easier, so if I go back to this window here and press N, go to view, and make sure I check the camera to view, lock this camera to view. I press enter again. You can see as I move around here now, the camera here is moving, so I'm now moving the position of the camera, which makes it a lot easier, you know, to where I want it. Okay. And of course I can scale this up a little bit bigger, but, you know, there we go. That's it. Now play around with the camera settings, so you can click on the camera and we can go to the camera options. Now you got choices to play around with the focal length, you know, if you want to make it more extreme, you know, something like this. Play around with the focal length, and let's check on depth of field. Boom. The depth of field focus object will be the dice, of course. Boom. So that will be our cube. You can rename these as well, like I said. If I double click, you can change the cube to dice. You can change the floor to, you know, I don't know, tabletop, whatever you like. Table, you know, grass, whatever you like to call it. Anyway, so we have this nice scene, and what we want to do is we turn depth of field on. So sorry, I'm jumping between things, but we're going to get camera, and here on our aperture on the f-stop, we're going to bring this value down. You'll notice the background starts to blur, and also the foreground. Yeah. You get this cool look. Yeah, full depth of field, and we'll focus on this cube, you know. Yeah. Now if I was to copy this cube, or should I say dice, Control C, Control V, I've got two, and then I could put one behind, say, and change that rotation. Not the same. Perhaps this one's rolling over that way. Place it out of focus. Yeah. You can see this is out of focus because of the depth of field in the camera, which is nice. Like I said, you can play around with these settings until you're happy with it. If you want to increase this blades, maybe say 3. Okay, 3. Anyway, that's up to you. Play around with the options. Next, let's add some light. So we're going to add a light. I'm going to use an area light. Bring this up. You can see we're catching the reflection on the top of the dice. I keep on saying cube, but it is a cube. It's a dice. It's still a cube. Anyway, make this easier. I'm going to click here on the constraints, add, and I'm going to use track 2, and I want this light to always face dice 1, so our first dice. Now when I move this anywhere around the scene, you see the light's always facing facing towards the dice, you know, so I can light this object up and don't need to worry about, you know, is the light pointing at it. Now I'm going to increase that power to 1500 for now. Nothing really extreme. Go. Now it's about playing with the environment. So here we've got different environments. Of course, you can bring your own in. So, you know, you can change these and see what works and what doesn't work for you. These are just the standard Blender ones. Of course, you can bring in, like I said, you can bring in your own HDRs. If you do have a HDR, you can bring them in. Let's just click a few and see. You can rotate these, you know. Change the strength and all sorts. Yeah. And it's entirely up to you. But yeah, these are some. What I will do is show you how to import your own HDR. So here, if you have a background, and now I'm using this tool, or should I say asset browsers, where I've got from Polyhaven. I bought this from the Blender market. It's great because what you can do is you've got access to a bunch of, you know, assets, assets, models, textures that you can use, and you know, they're really cool and they'll get you what you need most of the time anyway. So I'm going to say something like this cinema lobby and just drag it into my scene. Give it a second. Oh, make sure I uncheck the scene world. My bad. I was waiting for it. I thought it was really loading this side. Anyway, as you can see, I can play around here with only my world options. I can change the strength and reduce that or increase that. And I've got different environments, you know, that I can just drag and drop and try to get the lighting look I want to achieve. So as you can see, what I'd normally like to do is just play around with that strength. Where it's not too bright, but you know, it's picking up something. And if we go to our materials and scroll right down, I forgot to do on the red material, just turn on some screen space reflections. A second. Fractions. Look how cool that looks. Alright. Now, of course, you can, like I said, you can play around with your, you know, your material options. You will still have a load of material options here. So you can play around with that ramp. And the transmission, how much transmission you want. Which has a massive, you know, massive chunk of it. You know, see, there's 0. So bring it up. Oh, how did it go to 0? There we go. And there's 1. But yeah, entirely up to you how you want to play this. This one, I don't know what's going on with this one. This one's not updated, or it is. It's probably just the lighting, the environment. Let's see. Drag another one in. Yeah. There you go. You can see. Yeah. And this is all in Eevee, so you know, you could just render this off if you want. You don't have to do anything. Bonus, if you want to make this, you know, a bit more interesting, if you want to animate this quickly, extra. Like I said, Polyhaven, you can get some free assets. I do believe they do free assets as well. Anyway, let's go back to our scene. You know, we can pick these 2 dice up, just bring them up. Don't worry too much if they go up in the air for now. If you want the camera to follow this as well, so you notice they're out of shot. So what you could do, same thing, you have the option on the camera, you got the focus object on there. You can also say track to and say track to the dice. So now wherever the dice goes, the camera goes and it follows, which is cool, right? So, we could place our camera up here, our dice up here, and the camera's looking up, and we want to add some physics. So we're going to say, we want this to be a rigid body, and they're active. This surface here is going to be a rigid body as well, but this one's going to be passive. If I hit play, boom, that one dropped. Oh, before I forgot, so it doesn't, you have to do each individual one. My brain just assumed it'll do, if I shift select them both, they'll do it, but it doesn't do that. You have to make sure you have to repeat that same one. So rigid body, active, there we go. Hit play, boom. We got a nice animation. We didn't even do anything. The camera's automatically following it. There you go. And I haven't played around with any physics or anything like this. I've just left it everything as default. You can change that start position. Maybe you want it to like start something here, and let's see what happens. Boom. Entirely up to you. You can bake that once you're happy. Like I said, play around with the camera. Camera is also important. You can get different looks. What happens if I did orthographic? Can get a completely different look. So it means I'd have to change my depth of field. There we go, something like this. I've got a completely different look. Rewind. Boom. It might not work. It might work. You can pull out more than that. There we go. So now I can see the other dice, but it doesn't look brilliant. Can go back to perspective. Might want to pull this out more. And move the camera in. Play. And I'll get a completely different look, and feel. But yeah, have a play. Hopefully this was helpful, and it wasn't, it wasn't too confusing. I'll just make that depth of field back. Okay, boom. Enjoy the rest of your day. Oh yeah, and you can also, one more thing before I go, you can add more lights. You're not limited to one light. I just said, I just placed one light looking at the thing. You can put point lights and light this up to 1500. As you can see, I can light this scene up. Can add colors. It doesn't have to be white. It can be blue, 500, something extreme. But yeah, play around, light up your scene. Yeah, boom. Entirely up to you. Hope you have a good day, morning, night, wherever you're. Thank you again, and bye bye.